everybody. I am Tamar Russell-Brown from the Fitchburg Cultural Council, and today we are here on FCCtv, our brand new TV show, and we're really excited. We have some special guests with us today, and I want to introduce them, so let's meet them. Today we have the Fitchburg Abolitionist Park with us. We have the co-chairs, David Thibault-Munoz, and Dr. Danette Day.
Hi.
And we have one of the board members, Sam Squailia.
Yay.
Hi.
And we're really excited to have you guys here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
Tamar.
you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I don't know anything about the Fitchburg Abolitionist Park, so I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about the history, maybe how this whole thing got started.
Sure. So I am an instructor at Mount Wachusett Community College, and in the summer of 2017, my students were reading, I had assigned the narrative of Frederick Douglass, and asked the students to do some research after learning about a little bit of the history myself on Fitchburg's role in the abolitionist movement. And through that summer, we were also walking the neighborhood and looking at some of the vacant lots that make up what used to be the land of a prominent abolitionist named Benjamin Snow. He owned a lot between, a 3-acre lot between Green Street, Pearl Street, and Blossom and North in the 1830s, 40s, 50s. So that's where it started. That summer, the students developed a proposal to create a pocket park dedicated to Fitchburg's role in the movement to end slavery. And actually, I don't know if both Sam and Dr. Day were involved right in the beginning of this project. I don't know if you want to share. You could share where how you got involved.
Yeah, David's class at Mount Wachusett Community College took on this project for exploring Fitchburg's role in the abolition of slavery. And the property with Benjamin Snow, the kind of project was to identify lots that we could potentially build a pocket park. And David brought me in and said, "Hey, Sam, first of all, hey, can your husband help clear the lot?" Yes. And hey, can we develop some plans? Talk to the students. And the students brainstormed what they feel a pocket park that is dedicated to Fitchburg's role in the abolition of slavery would look like. And so I kind of developed that plan for a lot on Wood Street and a lot on Day Street that were on Benjamin Snow's property, that owned by Housing and Urban Development, and one lot owned by the city of Fitchburg, to kind of take those to the next level. And
what happened?
Well, so we cleared and cleaned and investigated those two properties as possible options, and we pitched our ideas to the city of Fitchburg, and neither lot was made available to us. And that didn't deter us, because at some point we were speaking to the Parks Commission at a meeting, and David's students so beautifully presented their case, and then Adrian Ford, who we've lost recently, prominent activist for years in this community, he spoke, and as he was speaking at the meeting, Jay Bry, who is the Vice President of Finance, thank you, at Fitchburg State, and I work at Fitchburg State in the education department, but he was at the meeting, and after the meeting, he contacted us, and lo and behold, Wood Street, Day Street really weren't the places we needed to build this park to commemorate and to acknowledge Benjamin Snow's position in this movement. We were able to build this park on Snow Street, so a little divine intervention, I think.
It's excellent news.
Yeah.
So I could talk about the history in general, the Fitchburg history, because I'm sure viewers want to know.
I do.
This exciting history that Fitchburg is a part of. So when I gained a little bit of knowledge of the abolitionist movement, it was from the Fitchburg Historical Society. I had found a pamphlet called "A Bell for Shadrach." It was actually a play written in 1954, and the play is basically about Benjamin Snow and about Shadrach Minkins. Shadrach Minkins is one of the first people arrested under the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and Benjamin Snow's connection to Shadrach is what the play is about. And so the bell part of that really has to do with this 800-pound plantation bell. It was on a plantation in Mississippi. It was confiscated by the Confederacy to melt down into weaponry, and then it was confiscated by the Union Army when they took New Orleans and sold at auction in Concord. Benjamin Snow bought that bell. And it's important because around the same time period, Benjamin Snow and others who had broken from the Calvinist church, because at the time in the Abolitionist movement, one of the strategies was to get churches to declare slavery unchristian. And the Calvinist church had refused to do so. So folks broke, and they formed the Trinitarian Congregational Church, which was located where Espresso, across the street for Espresso, where near Monument Park. So in any case, that bell went into the church, the Trinitarian church, and Benjamin Snow vowed to not have the bell rung until every last person in this country was free. And so it stood in the bell until the church, which was founded as a chapter of the American Anti-Slavery Society, of which Benjamin Snow was the vice president of the Massachusetts chapter. That bell stood in that church until it disbanded in 1872. Once, shortly after slavery was abolished, all the proceeds from the church went to the Freedmen's Bureau to help former slaves get on their feet. And the bell still exists in a church in Ayr. It was sold to the Ayr Federated Church, which Dr. Day had some communication with that church. Yeah.
We're trying to, at first we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could buy it and put it into the park after it was built, and we realized it's really, it's a treasure, and it's in the Ayr Federated Church, and we're just working to be able to go and see it and then connect the history. Right now we have done some great work. We've raised money to develop this pocket park, and we're a little short right now, so we're going to be asking for more funds. That we need as much money as we can, but the work with the bell and the work of getting the play maybe performed is really like a phase 3, and we're at like maybe phase 1.5, 1.5. So this will be the opportunities will continue to occur. So people who want to learn more, get involved, be a part of this effort, there's still room and time to do that.
That's right.
So I want to back up just a little bit to the history because it's really interesting.
There's more.
I know there's more. I know there must be a lot more.
Yeah, there is.
So this Mr. Snow, in terms of the history of Fitchburg and the abolitionist movement, was there a lot of traffic through here that came from other parts of the country, slaves escaping? Did they reside here? Did they stay? Were they safe here? Lots of questions around that.
So we know that there are existing properties.
Part of the Underground Railroad.
Right, that still exist, and Benjamin Snow's property himself, and Samuel Crocker, which many people, it's a familiar name. Crocker's a familiar name in Fitchburg, is also an abolitionist and
Really?
a friend of Snow. For our park and the history that research that my students had uncovered or highlighted, we know of Shadrach Minkins, which I didn't finish telling the story of, and Josiah Henson. So I'll talk about Shadrach Minkins' story first. I did mention that he was arrested under the Fugitive Slave Act, which by law at that time, before the Fugitive Slave Act, people could come to the North and be free. But after the Fugitive Slave Act, if you knew of somebody who was formerly enslaved that escaped and you didn't report them, you could go to jail. So someone told on Shadrach, who was living in Boston at the time. He was in his court trial. There were demonstrations outside of the courthouse led by black abolitionists based in Boston. The abolitionists decided they were going to not let the trial go forward and marched into the courtroom, grabbed Shadrach Minkins by his ankle and neck, carried him to the street. And there were so many people protesting that the deputies were like, we're not we're not touching this. So they kind of let him go into Concord, where he stayed overnight, and then he was transported to Leominster and stayed at Francis Drake House, and then where he ate dinner, and then he went to Benjamin Snow's home. He stayed overnight. The next day, he was brought to Samuel Crocker's home in West Fitchburg, where funds were collected. It was a meeting of local abolitionists, and they gave him the funds, and they put him on a train from Ashburnham toward Canada, and then he made it safely eventually to Canada, and then maintained correspondence with Francis Drake. I know that's documented in the Drake House in Leominster.
It's an incredible story.
It's a great story, and the other person that's well known, and we know this because Benjamin Snow's daughter wrote a piece, sort of like
it's a narrative just a
about.
two-person narrative.
It was called "In My Father's House" because his home was torn down in 1909 to extend Day Street from Green to Pearl, and Josiah Henson is the person that Harriet Beecher Stowe based Uncle Tom on. So Josiah Henson had written a narrative himself, and Beecher Stowe, who was also a friend of Benjamin Snow, wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was sold the first book in the United States to sell over 1 million copies. Josiah Henson had come to Benjamin Snow's house twice to raise money to buy his freedom. So that's a pretty cool connection too, I think. And by the way, I think if you learn more about Josiah Henson, you'll it's kind of upsetting to kind of people throw the word Uncle Tom out as if it's like a negative thing. And Josiah Henson was, I mean, the guy when he had the money to buy his freedom, he moved to Toronto and opened up a school to help. The whole sole purpose of the school was to help former slaves to get on their feet and to find work and learn how to read and so on. It was I think he's got a bad name, and we have to fault Harriet Beecher Stowe for that.
Yes, and these are the stories. These are the few stories we know. Now the idea is to uncover more stories, right? To involve more people, to allow them to do the work of digging deeper into the history of Fitchburg, because those are stories that we have some ability to connect information to, but there were prominent people that came through that also lived elsewhere. William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass, the Gimke sisters, Lucy Stone, a lot of really amazing people who were allies were in this area. And to connect them to this history and where they were and where they went, it's going to take time. So we're hoping that just by having this ability to share what has been done to date, after 4 years, 3.5 years of a collective of people who are interested, to inspire the next generation to do this work. And that Pocket Park will be a really great place for people to come to learn, to gather, to learn, to be inspired, and to take it on, whatever that will be.
When you learn about the history, Fitchburg's role here, it makes you all the more just proud to be from here.
Right.
We were given a presentation where a historian told us that the Fugitive Slave Act was around the country. However, it was well known that in Fitchburg you were safe. No one was going to report you in Fitchburg. And he also told us we have our Civil War monument that is one of the only monuments for the Civil War that actually references, the role of the Civil War in the abolition of slavery, not just, the separation of, the North from the South.
And I think that's a really good point to make, because we're talking about the 1840s and 50s and 60s, but really it was women abolitionists of the 1830s who really kind of set in motion that kind of culture of abolitionist activism. and it is because of that, and I don't know if you know this part of the history, but Frederick Douglass, who I know Dr. Day had mentioned, he stayed at Snow's home on different occasions, spoken in the Trinitarian Church. He sent his own sons to fight in the Civil War. And I don't think that that's a common thing in this country, that people would volunteer to fight in the Civil War. In fact, there were draft dodges and demonstrations and things going on. But in Fitchburg, that was the case. People were signing up because they wanted to join the war effort to fight to abolish slavery. And I think that's really important and unique to our city and in the country. And I don't think that was a motivating factor, let's say, for Northerners to join the cause.
And that's what we're hoping this park is going to highlight, for the city of
that.
Fitchburg. And we're hoping that we, our phase 1.5, we're going to have our groundbreaking on the Juneteenth, and we'll be able to have an open park. But moving, into the future, we hope to highlight the history through, memorials, statues, artwork, and murals, and an interactive kind of demonstration of the history to tell this history better than we can.
Some type of virtual interactive kiosk that really will share what pieces of what we know and more, because more is going to be uncovered.
Yeah, you've got a long way to go. So
Sure.
for the public that want to get involved, now that we all know about this, which is really important
We
that we
hope
know
they
about
do.
this, because I didn't know about this, and certainly the council is really happy to have been able to fund something that you're doing. How can we get involved? How can the public find you? What's the best way for the public to be involved with you?
So,
First of all, we want to thank the council for supporting the efforts. And David knows a little bit more about exactly what support you've given and what the money will be used for. So will you share, David?
sure. So, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
For your support. So, just if I could, we're involved in about phase 1 or 2. So folks know where we're at right now. We're having a Juneteenth groundbreaking on Juneteenth, June 19th, from 10 to noon. But we've already broken ground. We've graded a lot. We've repaired a support wall. We put down gravel. Tomorrow, there's cement being poured. Volunteers from the Fitchburg, the North Central Mass Realtors Association came out, planted a perennial garden, and built garden beds, and planted flowering trees, and are continuing to do some of that work, putting up a flagpole, and the fence where this mural that the Fitchburg Cultural Council funded is going to be on. That fence is going up Friday, and what we're looking for is an artist to help us reflect this history on this mural. So it's really to highlight not only the Fitchburg residents who were at the forefront of the movement, but the national figures who were connected to Fitchburg. And we also want to highlight the women, because there were women in Fitchburg, and like the Grimke sisters out of Boston, and Lucy Stone, whose brother lived in Gardner, so she was local as well, who were part of this movement, and the connection to Francis Drake as well in Leominster. I think we want to be able to just kind of reflect that history and inspire, as Dr. Day said, the future generations of activists and the current people who are currently involved in the movements for freedom in this country.
Yeah, we definitely
which
need
is
it.
the fabric of it's the thing. It's the part of being an American that makes me proud. It's that democracy, that fluidity that people have always stood up and said, we do it good, but we could do it better.
And that's a good way for us to close, I think.
Yes.
Really,
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for being here today. So from the Fitchburg Cultural Council, this is FCCtv. We had Dr. Day with us, Danette Day, David Thibault-Munoz.
That's right.
Did I do it right?
That's correct.
And Sam Squailia from the Friends of the Abolitionist Park. So make sure you go to their park on the 19th of June from 10 to 12 in the morning. And what's your website?
www.abolishpark.org.
Thank you so much. Hi everybody, welcome back. I am Tamar Russell-Brown from the Fitchburg Cultural Council, and this is FCCtv, the Fitchburg Cultural Council's monthly show where we spotlight our grantees. And today we have some wonderful guests with us, two more, from the Fitchburg, the Forge Theater Lab. Is that correct? Right? And this is Jack Crory and Samantha deManbey. And I'd like you to start, maybe Jack, and tell us a little bit about what the Theater Lab is.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having us on.
You're welcome.
So the Forge Theater Lab is a small theater company in residence at Fitchburg State University that is completely devoted to new plays. It was founded about 3 years ago, and we hold workshops, staged readings, and full productions of plays that are in the process of being written. And we have actors and other theater artists from the local community who are alumni of Fitchburg State, and actually even some professionals from the Boston area who all kind of come together and collaborate to help writers develop the next play that they're working on.
It's really quite cool. And Samantha, you're the production, tell me your title again?
Production associate.
Production associate. So could you maybe give us some examples of different projects that you've done over the past 3 years? Maybe some examples of plays that you've had, or?
Sure. So we've actually done a lot of different staged readings. Our first season, we had 4 staged readings of all alumni written plays. We had a stage reading of The Lowell Offering, written by Andy Baedes and Ginevra Gallo Baedes, which is about like the Lowell Mill girls. And that was really exciting because it's a historical piece, and really brought in like a big part of the community to see that. And we also had another one, Good Grief, by Mary Darling, who's also another alum of Fitchburg State, and that got a really good reception as well. So yeah, most of our events are focused like on the playwright, helping them develop their play. So we generally do mostly staged readings, but we have done a few productions. Our last in-person production, I believe, was Chasing the Ghost by Ashley Lauren Rogers, which was like a comedy drama about a YouTuber who ends up being haunted by a ghost. So it's a really interesting play, and we love doing new and provocative plays.
Really interesting. And Jack, maybe could you tell us, since you're the managing director, what's the structure of the organization, like how people can be involved, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we have a small volunteer staff, which Samantha and I are on with a few other people. And then we also have a board of trustees who kind of oversees the company, makes decisions. So Dr. Danette Day, who is in your last segment, she's actually on our board of trustees. And this board is made up of a lot of alumni and faculty at Fitchburg State University. But Samantha and I, along with Pam Hill and Brittany Masuri-Reschenberger and Eric Nikander and Monique Guthrie, we're kind of the staff that plans each event.
So speaking of events, I know that there's something coming up that the council gave you some funding for, so we'd love to spotlight that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's coming up soon.
Sure. So we have Past Tense 6 short plays. It's an online event. Each of the short plays is about characters confronting their past selves, or something an event in their past or an identity in their past they can't quite move on from. And so they're by 5 playwrights. A few of them are 1 acts, some of them are 10 minutes, and they're all very different. Like some are funny, some are dramatic, but they're all very compelling stories, and I think people will really enjoy them.
So we're going to watch a couple clips, but first I wanted to ask for the public, how can they watch them? How do we watch them?
Okay, so they'll be available to watch online June 18th through the 27th. All you have to do is go to the Forge website. It's just www.theforgetheaterlab.inc, and that's INK. And it'll be available there for free. We're accepting donations, but if you can't give anything, that's fine as well. So
that's very nice of you.
Yeah.
Offering as a community for free. So can you maybe tell us, I think we're going to watch 2 of them, or at least one of them. We'll see what we have time for. One is called Black Lipstick, and the other one is One Angry Gay Man. So maybe you could give us some background or the storyline.
Yeah, so I actually directed both of these pieces. Black Lipstick is by Ashley Lauren Rogers. It's a really fun piece. It's about a single mom who really wants to go out and have a good time, but her daughter doesn't want her to embarrass her. So that's like the premise of the play. And the second clip is from One Angry Gay Man by Matt Cogswell, who also acts in it. And he plays 7 different characters, all struggling with their sense of identity and a sense of trying to find a sense of purpose in their lives.
Thank you for explaining them. All right, let's watch the clips.
My friend spent his entire time there at Pride just dancing and twirling and wearing the tackiest princess outfit. He's so authentically himself, so authentically present and unabashedly himself. Why can't I just be myself? Why can't I just let myself go? All these people were loud and proud and fierce and fabulous and 100% themselves. They were beautiful creatures, unapologetic and fearless. I'm none of those things. I live my life afraid of being gay. I live with some internalized homophobia that makes me one angry gay man.
Mom, I'm between jobs. Gotta use the bathroom.
I'm gonna be a while.
Gotta pee and fix my makeup. So you wanna hurry it?
I'm sure you look fine.
Your x-ray vision is astounding. Still doesn't fix my...
Knock on Grams.
I shouldn't have to go next door to use the bathroom. Plus, she yells at me for playing my music too loud.
Don't play your music too loud.
My headphones aren't charged. Plus, it smells like feet in her condo.
Just go when you get to work then.
I should be able to go in my own goddamn house.
Language. What's that noise?
Looking for the mirror.
Don't throw my CDs.
I'll throw them in the trash, see how you like it.
Wouldn't dare.
You're gonna have to come out of the bathroom to find out. Last chance.
Don't throw my CDs.
All right.
What are you doing? Mandy? Mandy?
Thank you so much for watching those 2 clips. So this was the Forge Theater Lab here with us today. Thank you guys so much. So I wanted to just spotlight one more time before we conclude. It's past tense, 6 short plays, right? And it's June 18 to 27.
Yep.
So what's the website one more time that we find?
So it's www.theforgetheaterlab.inc. It's online, it's free, so we hope you'll tune in.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here with us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And this was FCCtv. Have a great evening.